Hey, I'm Andrew Hales. Welcome to another edition of Chatting With. Today I'm here with Big Herc.
How you doing?
Yeah, ex-convict?
Ex-con, yeah.
Yeah, ex-con. 10 years.
8 years, 8 months, but I've done over 10 years of jail time in my life.
Wow. Okay. When was the first time you went to jail?
The juvenile hall for selling crack.
Okay. And then after that?
When I was 18, I got caught up in a home invasion.
Wow. Like robbery?
Yeah.
Where did you grow
Sacramento, for the most part, North Highlands.
Where was it part of a gang?
Not really. I mean, it's just a neighborhood. I mean, there was a lot of my particular group of friends were, pretty much Crips, but I had friends that were also Bloods.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was in the streets. It just was, it's the street life. Robbing people wasn't. That was just like a regular thing. People, you got involved in the streets, and that kind of became like the norm.
Yeah. Okay. And then what was the big one for 8 years or whatever?
Bank robbery.
Wow.
I ran in the bank with a gun and ski mask.
Wow. Was that, were you scared to do that?
Not really. I mean, you're a little bit, you have some anxiety, you get some butterflies in your stomach, but for me, when I commit to do something, I just decide to do it. And like I said, the mind frame I was in, it wasn't the actual bank robbery, it was everything that led up to the bank robbery that got me locked up, because it's all those choices that led up to that. You don't wake up one morning and have enough heart to run in the bank with a gun.
Yeah.
You got to do a lot of other things that builds up the courage in order for you to go commit that act.
So then sentenced to 10 years.
Yep, 120 months. The wake-up call wasn't like I was looking to make a career out of going to prison.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of like just in every direction. I wasn't really focused on any one thing in particular when I got locked up. So I was easily it was easy for me to jump into stuff, At the time I got locked up, I was doing porn. So doing porn and then kind of like trying to figure out what would be my next move. The bank robbery seemed like a transition into kind of, making a jump into some, the music industry. But, getting the time, initially, when I first got locked, I started researching my case. So I actually knocked 2 years off my sentence by going to the law library. So that became my primary focus when I was in jail, is to try to find a loophole to get out early.
You did porn? What?
Yeah, before I got into before I did the bank robbery, I was also doing porn.
Man, it's like bank robbery, like porn, and like all these the crack. What? Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I'm pretty much
there's like 8 topics we could talk about here. Hell.
Yeah, when I put my mind to something, I would just jump into shit to see what it was about, and that's kind of like how I got into porn.
What's the hardest thing about jail or prison?
The mentality, basically, dealing with barbarians, people who have basically very irrational social skills, who at a drop of a dime will react with violence. So you're dealing with the mentality of like a lot of people who aren't capable of thinking at a higher level, very low level, bottom dweller individuals who, for the most part, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are chasing the high, or they're just people who don't have any value of life. So that's the hardest part, I would say. Physically, I mean, everybody can fight. I mean, if you get in there, you're going to defend yourself, whatever the case may be. You might have to stick somebody, but it's the mentality. Because having conversation, once you realize the value of good conversation and just non-ignorance, like in prison, you have some of the most ignorant people you could think of. I mean, you can sit down and talk without you leaving and somebody checking you like, hey, don't be talking to that black guy. Yeah. So you're dealing with a lot of that, just very extreme racism.
You got in a lot of fights?
No, I didn't really have any issues. I mean,
okay.
For one, I can outthink most of these guys 4 or 5 moves ahead of time, like chess. For two, I knew how to carry myself just by having been around a lot of street elements. And, I was always prepared. If somebody ran up, I would handle my business, because I knew nobody would take me one-on-one.
I would get beaten so fast in prison. I would know what to do. Man, do you have to, everyone thinks you have to join a gang to be protected?
There's a difference between the federal and the state. State is a lot more political as far as politics and what you have to do. If you're a white guy, you're going to state, you're pretty much your hit. You're going to be the Woods or the AB, they're going to put like, hey man, come over here. They're going to try to put you in, bring your paperwork and all this stuff. You're going to be basically put on blast as soon as you get there. For black guys, it's not as organized. You know, it's a little bit more leeway. But the feds, you're dealing with people who are maybe real estate fraud, stock fraud, you know, money laundering, embezzlement. So you might be a white guy and you might be teaching a class about LLCs, and I might be coming to your class and learning how to set up my next LLC when I get out. And then you have another guy who might be teaching real estate. So the level of education you get in the feds, you're not going to have guys in the state, because most of these guys, you got rapists, petty thieves, assault and battery, DUI, you know, people with garbage, you know.
Okay, well, good. So they don't lump those two groups together.
No, economically it's just a little bit different. The feds is changing a lot now because of legal immigration, but for the most part, the feds is political. It's political, but not as bad as the state.
Yeah, and you went to state.
No, I went to feds.
Feds.
Yeah.
Okay. For bank robbery.
Interfering with interstate commerce, federal crime.
So yours was a little less violent.
No, it's violent. Hostile takeover, people were on the ground,
Yeah.
high-speed chase. But it was a federally insured bank, which makes, if it's FDIC, that means that it's a federal crime because you affected interstate commerce. Any crime, like when they arrest guys on drug charges and it's just within the state, local, you go to the state. But if you were selling drugs out of state, it becomes federal because you cross state line. That's interstate commerce.
Wow. You know a lot about this, man.
I've studied the law for 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Another topic. Hell, law for 9 years. You have a.
I don't have a law degree, but that was my hustle in prison, was helping guys filing petitions, habeas corpus appeals, you know, traffic violations, divorce papers. That was my thing, because a lot of guys barely had their GED. I was well educated. I mean, not well, but I am pretty well educated. I read a lot of books. I went to college, so I was when it came to understanding paperwork, I knew what's up, you know, as far as the language.
You got your bachelor's?
No, I never went back and actually got my bachelor's, because at this point it's all about making money.
Yeah.
But as far as educating myself, I mean, I read a lot of the Black's Law Dictionary. I studied a lot of the criminal codes as far as federal statutes and stuff like that. So I'm pretty familiar. You can't, you know, somebody can't tell me about the law and think that it's going to just blow over my head like, you know, it did before.
These are my Twitter. How does he feel about the privatization of prisons and the industrial complex and legal and societal cycle that keeps ex-convicts oppressed and going back to jail?
I think it's garbage, man. I think that they need to get rid of them. You know, all these people who voted for Trump in office down in Florida, the governor who's, you know, all the people who lobbied behind him so that he would press for all these, you know, initiatives to get these private prisons built. If they spent that same money educating, see, you educate a person, and if that person has value, they don't feel like they're an outcast for society. Most people I've talked to people who, you know, without knowing, they probably killed 4 or 5 people. You know what I mean? These guys are straight. But when you talk to them and you hear the, you know, the educated conversation, and you think about value and what a person feels about another individual, if you educate a person, the more educated you are, you rationalize. You're like, maybe I shouldn't stab this guy with a fork. You know, maybe I shouldn't, you know, rape this woman. Maybe I shouldn't do this. So the more educated you are, you can kind of get crime. It kind of disseminate. You know, people will start doing other things because crime won't seem as entertaining. Because when you look at the people doing it, you're like, I'm not like them. I'm above that.
Yeah.
You know, but human beings do things what they feel that they're easy to associate with. That's why people join gangs, because they want to be associated with something.
Walk me through a typical day in the life. You wake up. They
crack the doors.
Do they make you wake up?
Oh, well, you got to get up. I mean, that's just military type. You know, you don't be sleeping in the bed and somebody come in there running on you. You always got to be prepared. You never know who's lurking in the cuts to try to do something to you. So you always get up when the doors crack. You never are laying down in the bed with the doors open unless you got somebody watching, looking out for you, because somebody can run up in a cell and stab you in your sleep. Yeah. So whenever the doors are open, you never are just sleeping without anybody like looking out for you. Okay. You know, so doors crack, 5:30. You get up. You know, usually one or two things. You either get up and, you leave the cell, let your cellmate wash up and use the bathroom, or you do the same. And then you guys, get ready to go to chow, which is like breakfast. You go have some breakfast. Usually breakfast, a lot of the places, they start serving garbage. They used to serve like eggs and stuff, but now during the week you get they give you like this garbage cereal and then maybe like some type of honey bun. So they really are feeding your diet. They're trying to make you just shit bodies, you know what I mean? Diets are like horrible during, they don't want you in good physical shape. So you get a shitty breakfast, and you get ready for whatever work call if you got to go to work. And people go work in the factories. That goes back to the privatization, because a lot of the people in prison are making stuff for these companies on the street. What they're only making like a couple cents on a dollar. So it's basically free labor for them. And if you're doing 30 years and you're working in these factories making parts for the Humvee or parts for the military or furniture or clothing, you're basically they're subcontracting, making money. So it's good for them for you to get up and go to work. So guys go to work. Some guys go and either they work on the unit or they work on the yard. Some people go work out, and then.
Do you have to go to work?
You have to have a job. Like
okay.
they have jobs which they call pay you no mind, which doesn't really pay anything. They might pay $8 a month, $5 a month. That's the type of job I had, where you just go out for an hour and you act like you're sweeping. Just walk around for an hour and bullshit. And those jobs are coveted, because if you're a guy who really is not buying into the garbage, you don't want to work for the government. You don't want to work for them. You're already locked up. Why am I going to support being locked up? So I did the minimum for my captors, and I tried to benefit myself as much as possible, reading and educating myself. So I worked an hour minimum, and then every other hour of the day, I either worked out or I studied.
So your cellmate, did you guys instantly just become good friends?
Well, I've had a couple cellmates. I mean, the last person I was cellies with was a Mexican guy, which is pretty, unheard of, because most people are like, oh, black and Mexican, but I'm from Northern California, and it's different. Blacks and Mexicans get along in Northern California. Blacks, Mexicans, whites, Samoans, Filipinos, Asians, we all get along. So me and this guy are from the same city, Sacramento, so that was my cellie. And basically I had his back, he had my back, and we kind of vibed on the same level, and we had the same goals, and we're still in touch to this day.
Sweet. He's out now?
Yeah, he's out doing good. He's got his own construction business, nice. Working on his master's in finance. All
right. What'd you do for fun?
In prison?
Yeah. I guess, is there basketball?
There wasn't that. I didn't participate in fun in prison. My only goal was to get out of prison. I didn't play sports. I didn't gamble. I didn't participate in any of that. I don't want to ever be comfortable. I didn't ever want prison to be like, I never did that. I worked out to be ready in case I had to split somebody's wig. And I studied, and then I was always thinking, like, what if one day they said, hey, you're free to go? A lot of these guys, they're so busy having fun in there. If they said, hey, you're released, they wouldn't be prepared. Yeah. I was prepared any given day. If I got out early, I would have a plan.
Nice. Split somebody's wig. Did you ever have to do that?
No, I slapped a dude before, but didn't really have to split nobody's wig. A couple of dudes lip service, but they weren't trying to really come in a cell. Most people don't want to come in a cell because it's limited space, and then they can't really can't really jump in a cell. And not major altercations where I had to go and stick somebody.
Did you ever witness that?
Oh yeah, I've seen people get stuck before. You just keep walking. You don't stop. You can't acknowledge it because you become a suspect, and then you're not supposed to ever acknowledge or admit to the police that you've seen anything. Because if you become suspect of telling, then you could be the next victim.
They made
there's people homemade knife? There's people that sell knives in there that have access. I mean, I had access to whatever I wanted. There's guys in there, he's like, hey, if you ever need something, just come holler at me. There's people that, they have stash spots, and they have knives made out of all kind of things. I've seen a knife this long that was like made out of plastic, and it was pointed. It looked almost like a rhinoceros horn, but it came down to a point where I could plunge it in, you just pull it right out, and you would never know.
Wow.
And it went through the metal detector.
Okay. You said it was a wake-up call. You feel like it was effective at
if you want it to be
correctional facility.
There's no rehabilitation in prison.
Yeah.
It's not like European prisons where you can go out on the weekends and you hang out, go shop, and there's guys in there for murder. I had a guy hit me up one time. He was in prison. He's like, I watched your show, and I'm like, yeah, I've been down for 10 years, and I'm on a weekend pass. I'm like, weekend pass, like, yeah, I'm about to get out, you know. And they don't have that here. Here, if you committed, you know, any type of heinous act, or even, I mean, looking for drugs, you know, you got a guy, Louisiana, you know, 2 pounds of marijuana, 18 years. A rapist, 6 months. You know, so the guy Brock, he didn't even do any time. You know, he admitted he had rape. So, I mean, here, there is no rehabilitation. And based on the individual, depending on what you look like, you'll get more time than the next person because they feel that you can handle it. So this is it's not a racially evenly, you know, set up system. And as far as rehabilitation, you got to rehabilitate yourself. Every day I try to figure out what it was that got me there. I was a straight A student. I wasn't stupid. I had 4.0. I got maybe 2 C's in my whole high school career. You know what I mean? I wasn't stupid. I was very book smart, and I just made a lot of bad choices because of just how I looked at things. So I had to figure out how did I get to that point and reverse that. And it took me, I just kept working on myself. But a lot of people don't want to work on themselves. They want to blame the government. Oh man, the police, man, or oh man, my mom or my dad wasn't around, or blah, 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 or this and that. And you can't play the blame game. If you want to rehabilitate yourself, you have to take responsibility, man up, and basically say, you know what, I'm gonna make a change for the better, and I'm gonna stop making stupid decisions, and I'm not gonna hang around these dummies.
Was the first week the hardest?
Yeah, probably so, because you're reaching out to people and telling them you're locked up, and they're like, what happened? You know, people are trying to make sense of why you did what you did because it doesn't fit with your character, and so it is hard because you basically just you've left the street suddenly. You know, it wasn't like you told people, hey, I'm gonna go rob the bank. If you'd have told people, they'd have probably talked you out of it. So that's the hardest part, is admitting to other people that you are gone and you're looking at doing some serious time. You know, it crushes a lot of people.
Who was the first person you called?
My fiance at the time.
Okay. Did you have any visitors?
No.
The whole time?
No visitors. So that was another reason for me to kind of want to get out and kind of shit on everybody.
Yeah.
Show everybody that, hey, you know, as a result of, you know, just me wanting to take all that energy and then show, like, flip it to show that, hey, you know, this is what I did with myself and how I bettered myself because of that.
What was the first thing you did when you were released?
I had a homegirl came and picked me up, and I went down to Hollywood Boulevard up the street up here and got a piece of pizza.
Okay. Homegirl. So you did have like letters and stuff.
Yeah, some people wrote, you know what I mean? And the girl who came and picked me up was a friend of mine's girlfriend at the time. And so she looked out, you know, helped me publish my book when I was in there. It was doing little business stuff for us, you know, helping us out. But she, you know, instead of me having to catch a Greyhound, she drove and we talked, and I was just excited. It felt like when I got out, it actually felt like I'd just been in a bad dream. Yeah. It felt surreal, you know, coming back into LA, seeing all the Capitol building and all this, and it's like, wow, you know, I'm back out here, and I was excited. You know, a lot of people are scared to death. I wasn't scared at all.
Did you know anyone that tried to escape?
Yeah. I met a dude. Yeah, I met a guy. He tried to escape. He said he would have escaped, except for he had some fence cutters, and they broke when he got through he was going to get to the second fence, because they had, you know, they got like 2 or 3 fences. He went through the first one. I think he made it through the second, and then it broke, so he was stuck and he couldn't get out. So he had to go, and he, you know, apparently he hid on top of like a rooftop, and it was hella cold. It's in Colorado. It was wintertime. So eventually he had to give up because he'd freeze to death.
Wow.
And then from there they took him and sent him to the hole. He was in the hole for probably 6-7 years.
The hole?
Yeah, which is like, you know, you're no light, no daylight. You're locked in a room with just nobody, just caged up.
Have you ever been sent there?
Yeah, I've been in solitary confinement before. Just on some garbage, you know. They randomly chose a bunch of people and threw them in like the hole. But it's different when you're like, there's a hole where you go and it's like you and somebody else, and, you know. But then they got places where, like Marion, where they have like John Gotti, where they have like Larry Hoover, like people who are high powered, and they're just like, you know, they don't get any visits. You know, everything's like really isolated.
How long were you in the solitary confinement?
Just a couple weeks.
And they don't let you out?
No, you might get out every couple of days, maybe get a shower or something like that.
Wow. Do they give you a book or anything?
You might get a book, but you don't read that thing in the first, like, you know, a couple hours.
Yeah. So you had a lot of time to think.
A lot of time. Every day I thought about something. I thought about, you know, every day if I was on the street, what I'd be doing. LA traffic? Would I be, on a movie set somewhere doing some, trying to audition for a role? I just thought about all the things I could be doing besides sitting in prison and dealing with somebody telling me when I could take a shit, when I can go eat, when I can go and when to stand up and all this stuff. I just thought about all the different things I could be doing.
You couldn't just go take a shit when you wanted?
No, because you had a cellie in there. You can't just, you got to hold that shit. You can't, if your cellie's in there and the door, you time it. You can't just go take a shit. Somebody might be like, hey, man, why you keep shitting every time we're in the cell together? What's your fucking problem? Don't nobody want to smell your shit. So you got to hold it. When the door's cracked, you say, hey, man, I got to take a massa, man. I got to take a shit. And they're like, okay, you go out the cell, put your towel up, and then, you shit. But unless you're really on a lockdown, you're doing bad, then, you go and you have to take a shit. But you can't just regularly just, we just doors just shut. Hey, I'm going to take a shit. It's like, dude, we've been out all day and you're going to come here and take a shit? Somebody put hands on you for that.
Yeah, was that a problem with like dropping the soap and all that?
Yeah, most of the shower stalls were individuals. So you had individual shower stalls. I mean, in some facilities they did have like in Lompoc USP, and in the unit I was in, it was all cells. They have dorms too, but I was in the one that had all cells, and they had there were a couple showers that were like an open, where you just, if you were running late, you had to jump in there. It might be another dude or somebody in their shower, but you'd never look at nobody like, look at this Peter or nothing like that. And you always covered up. I mean, if you were one of those guys and, you walked around with your towel and shit, people start, oh, that dude, he's suspect. You don't sashay around with your towel, going to the shower and with your shower shoes on. You go to the shower, you got your boots on, your pants, you change real quick, then you get out, but there's little things. People are reading body language. You're experts at reading body language. Mm-hmm. So if you got any homosexual tendencies in there, somebody will exploit those.
Did you ever witness like anyone?
I never seen no homosexual activity in there. I knew of people would say, hey, that guy right there, watch out or blah blah blah, and you'd be like, okay. After you heard that, then you don't talk to them no more. That's it. Like, hey man, what's up, man? Hey, you keep it pushing, because after you've been warned, if you continue to eat together with this guy, then you must like that. So now you're suspect. That's how quick it changes. As soon as somebody says something about somebody and it is backed up by other people, and you continue to carry on your previous activity with this individual, you're no longer now welcomed.
Would you say movies overshoot or undershoot, I guess, as far as how bad it is?
Overshoot.
Okay.
To a lot of degree, because like the real of what's going on is, to a degree, the real that's really going on, they're not going to get it for the most part, because the people who are really in that life, they're not going to tell it to them. So Hollywood has to make up gaps. They have to put gaps and stuff and fill in. And the people who are really telling them a lot of their shit, probably they're getting it from somebody who was like a snitch or something, who came out and tried to this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. But like every now and then you get a real dude who would tell a story, and then they'll take part of that, and then to make it seem more sensationalized, they'll add to it. So they'll make this, like Prison Break, all this stuff. Now, a lot of that shit in Prison Break, what goes on in foreign prisons, is real shit. State prison is totally different. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was in the feds. So, when you're talking about rape, when you're talking about homosexuality, we're talking about different things. You go to the States, some of these southern prisons, some of these other places, it's totally different. And I can't speak on that.
Okay.
I can only speak on my experience, which is going to be a lot different than, a person like yourself, or somebody who's like all tattooed up with gang signs on them. It's going to be totally different. So everybody's experience is not the same, but Hollywood, I think, stretches a lot of it.
Yeah. So now you're married, you're in Van Nuys, you got these businesses going on. FreshOutSeries.com.
And Big Herc 916.
Sweet. Anything else you want to shout out?
Just that there's a lot of opportunity for people out there if they take the time to really focus outside the box and take a look at your friends and the people you socialize with, and ask yourself, is this the same group of people you want to be around in the next 5 years, or where do you see yourself at, and what value do they bring to your life? And make those choices, man. Don't be afraid to step out the box and be your own individual. And it's gonna allow you to make better choices before you make the wrong choice.
Well said. Big Herc, thank you for being here.
Oh man, I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah. Please check out Big Herc's information in the description, and I'll see you next week.